I guess what I wanted to say was that people relate in many ways. I suppose the principal way is by paying attention. And oftentimes that takes the form of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And other times it doesn't, but other times maybe it takes the form of trust and being there. But there's always that quality of attention. And when that's not missing, it feels hollow. When that is missing, I mean.
To me, the ultimate relating is from yourself to yourself, from yourself as awareness, being with this person. So it's like as the person is being herself, it's almost like as awareness, I can coach her along.
Say that again?
I can coach her along as she goes through whatever the human experience is. I can be that best friend, that lover, that parent, that even it's like even God towards her, and be compassionate towards her, with her, really, in this relating. That's being with what is part of the greatest relating, is being with oneself. This unique person that shows up with all of her idiosyncrasies and characters and flaws and whatever, all the rightness and all the wrongness, and of course it becomes very precious, this falling in love with oneself.
So I think I started to say there's lots of ways to relate. And sometimes we speak and enter into conversation. And sometimes we are just there for each other. And sometimes we live in a trust. And I don't know if there's other ways, because we're saying that we reflect each other. We have resonance with each other. We imprint each other. These are all spoken from the assumption that we're separate and imprinting each other, which is an apparent condition, so it's probably a good way to speak even.
Well, I don't know if there's a separateness in that, because being connected completely and in the play of events, these imprints and sharing of even contractions, energies, they carry on regardless of whether there's a belief in separation or an attachment to that idea of being separate. The energies still play how they play.
Is it any different if there's a belief in oneness or a belief in connectedness or continuousness?
Well, I guess what I'm speaking of is not a belief. It's actual occurrence. The truth of oneness, of connectedness. It's directly its own self. so that energies blend and mix and are in continuous play within what appears, what rises in each moment is part of the play, if you will. So I'm just saying that if there's a belief in separateness, that play is there, and if the belief in separateness has fallen away, or the structure that supported that belief, it's not a condition of the relatedness, the energies being played, however they're being played.
So you say that it's not a belief, it's an actual experience. So then it's not, when that actual experience occurs, then it becomes so obvious, no pointing needs be made, I guess. Or maybe not, because some people have some experiences and they just think they're very sick, and they don't really realize it for what it is, perhaps. But I'm saying that maybe there's not all that good reason to talk about a belief in separateness. I don't know, because until you said when that experience of connected oneness or whatever occurs, it's obvious
that there's nothing separate. Yeah, the belief in separation cannot exist simultaneously, because it's like saying, where you're out in the snow, and the snow is icy and cold, and maybe a wind is going, and you're saying there's no snow, and there's an experience of snow. I mean, ultimately, maybe there isn't any snow because it's all nothing, of course.
All water,
but
huh?
it's all water, and there's an experience of snow pelting the skin that's quite obvious, or if a brick falls on your toe, ouch, something's happening. And to say that it's not is interesting, but it's just what appears and how it appears and how it plays out. But yes, once the experiencing of the connectedness of all that is as one, this non-duality, the belief in separateness can't exist at the same time. In the direct experience, I mean, it's odd because it's believed in, yet it's not really in the way this separateness, except for in the person recognizing the oneness. So it's not actually in the way of the oneness, because the oneness is whether somebody recognizes it or not, whether it's realized by the awareness as this or that or the other. So it doesn't stand in the way, the belief of separateness. It only affects the person themselves, as it appears that they're separate. They believe in that until that no longer has fabric existence, I guess. It falls away, and
So I was suggesting in the very beginning that there's many ways we relate. I guess this is the third time I'm going back to it, so maybe I won't hit it too hard. And I probably didn't cover them all, because maybe some we relate by giving each other a hard time. I didn't cover that one. But and I was saying fundamentally to all relationship is paying attention. And I guess I was thinking of paying attention to who I'm relating to, and immediately you said, well, the only one to pay attention to, or the only relationship, is the relationship with yourself. And then by paying attention to myself, or what my
Just falling in
I'm
love
going to
with
say
yourself.
like
Yeah.
my perception. I don't know if it's only perception, but somehow perception seems to be what's here when I'm awake or alive. But somehow watching that perception or paying attention to it, is that fundamental to relating to others also?
Well, there'll be a relating even without the attention, like energies get shared, whether we're particularly aware or have our attention on it. But what the relating with attention or awareness with oneself, what happens is that's how you end up being with everybody. So the more loving you are towards this one that you are as a person, embracing her or him, as the case may be, the more you are exactly like that, falling in love with everyone, regardless of how they are. And that's sort of a side effect, a wonderful side effect that this compassion that you can feel towards yourself because of whatever it is that might be happening. It might be a little tougher on the human being. That self-compassion, then it's just absolutely there when another person is going through some hard times, perhaps, and compassion rises. So that which you give yourself is given. It's a win-win situation to fall in love directly and be the love with yourself in whatever way you've been looking for. Because usually people find they're looking for something on the outside. And to look for a way to give that to yourself. Be creative in the moment. And
that's so very interesting because, in a way, I was saying the quality of attention that you pay to others, and you came back and said, well, the only quality of attention you can give to others is the quality of attention that you possess to give, and somehow it starts inside of you, and all the qualities that you embody are the only ones you can share. You can't make one up that's outside of that repertoire. And
you can play at it, attempt to be loving by some idea of what love's supposed to look like. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're not actually, they're just being the picture of what love's supposed to look like or what caring's supposed to look like. Because that's then they feel better about themselves, I suppose. But for real love, it needs to be here at home. And I kind of mean it like almost awareness is the mother and the father and the best friend. And you have this deal, you and awareness, together of being these incredible lovers of life together. And awareness is with you 100% of the time, unconditionally. So who better? Now it's odd to call it a who, because it's not definable as a person, and yet the love can be felt quite personally when one allows that. It's really an allowing, because for myself, it's all love, and love is attempting to love us in every direction, all the time. And so when we open to that in each moment, love can show us itself. So for me, love, awareness, self, those are all the very same. Experience or happening.
So you mentioned that we could play with love. We could try to adopt it from what we heard about it and adopt a script. And so then we put ourselves in this play or this drama, and apparently that's when all the judgments come about if other people know their lines or they're messing up their lines, because they have to be in a drama of love too, right? Because
and the other person's perception of love is somewhat different. So even though they might be going, well, I'm being loving, the other person has a different idea of what love is supposed to look like, and it doesn't fit. And so what people do is they find where their ideas of love sort of fit each other, and then they play that. Okay, well, I'll call you and you call me, and you know, there is a wonderful camaraderie in that. And you know, love can be allowed within that as well. It's just that's when people say, you know, I've fallen out of love with someone. In my own experience, love does not go away. The surface details, what rises in the moment, may change, but love itself does not leave. Where would it go? You know. So the relating perhaps with the person changes, but love does not end.
So any idea about love or any script about love is contextual. It has a story that is a context. And so then what I'm suggesting is that context also is a script for the other person to follow. When you say two kind of loves could be different and they wouldn't fit, well, a love would just be unconditional and would have no script. It would just be moment to moment. So then it would fit everywhere.
Yes. But love, that kind of love is the love that can only be with yourself. And then simultaneously it happens on the outside. So when people say, oh, you know, love me unconditionally, you're not being unconditional, you know, trying to get the other person to be their idea of what unconditional is like. In other words, accepting whatever it was that they did that the other person didn't like. You know, that unconditional is a happening. It is not something you can do. You find that unconditional is something that you can look at hindsight, right? And say, this unconditional happened here when I accepted my whatever unruliness or whatever it was that didn't look particularly loving perhaps in the moment, but you as awareness can bring compassion to the table. And
I was thinking I was so brilliant there with that one, because it just came through that it's not the two loves don't fit, but the two scripts. You know, part A is always fitting because I'm following it perfectly. Part B doesn't fit because you're not following the context that I thought you were supposed to be in. And so then any kind of preordained scenario is it's just too fixed. It just comes out of I don't think ideas flow. They don't flow like life. Ideas just...
But it can be a place for someone to start who doesn't know how to love, right? So they can look at, okay, well, what would be loving in this moment? And it might start with an idea so they can reach out to that. And because sometimes people, you know, we're not really... there's not very many examples of real love. Where people are actually genuinely loving and accepting of each other, inclusive of their humanness and all the whatever messinesses of that. It's, I don't know, because I don't know absolutely everybody. But it doesn't seem to be very actively happening with people. Yeah, what you said earlier twigged something, but
Well, I mean, I'll just repeat something then, because, well, let's see. I kind of know what you mean when you say some people don't know how to love, but in another way, that's not what we're aiming at anyhow, right? So in other words, we're saying that everybody knows how to love, right? And that's what we're actually our basic building block, our fundamental. What's fundamental to us is that, we call it love, and love is evidence of no separation, probably. Is that what we're saying? I don't know. But before I fire that question off, let me say, shouldn't we point to the fact that love is already here and that you do know how to love? Okay, something seems to be in the way of it. I have a habit pattern says I should push people, or I should shield myself, or I should, just peek out once in a while. I'm timid, and I should protect myself. And those things that you can even love from there, I suppose, but it doesn't seem like the chances come up very often.
Well, it's because people aren't usually resting in the moment, because love is here, and people
only here, right? So there is no love in the out of the moment. There's only an idea.
There's
of
nothing
love, right?
out of the moment, actually.
Yeah,
the only
there's ideas,
the only
right?
reality
ideas
is
of things
in
right?
the moment. Yeah. So it's just when I said that sometimes it might be that a person might use an idea of love in the moment because they don't know what else to do. But they want to share love somehow. So it can be very vulnerable, but very genuine, where they just be completely themselves and reach out in some way, where the desire might be there to reach out, to touch, to connect in a truly loving way. Sometimes the idea can be a support in that case, just for them to support that there's some way to reach out to the other, if that's what love feels. It's just that people aren't used to allowing the love that they are. So when they're allowing the love they are, then that it just flows. It's happening. It's so you're allowing the body to move and the mind to be itself, and you're in this acceptance of who you are. You fall in love in acceptance with this humanness. Then she can run and be herself fully, because you've given her so much space as awareness. So I know that it's a little odd to talk about awareness as if, but it is giving us space. It is holding us and supporting us, and this is my direct finding. I can't move away from that. This falling in love in the moment is what is. Love is falling in with itself. And it includes the human being. It's so handy that the human being is here to be able to express the love. To
both express it and receive it. Huh?
Simultaneously, yes.
So let's go over that one again, because that's pretty interesting. Like I think you're saying that. Let's see if I get it, because in a way we're practicing loving ourselves. So what is when I was saying that we're already loved, or love is here already, or something like that, so then loving ourselves just means somehow taking away the obstacles that we saying, hey, we're not lovable. And later we will be, because we got the program figured out, we got the process. And so then we're practicing with an openness that goes to all of life. And first it just somehow goes to us, but when we gloss it over, it's somehow like, almost like a tumor or something like that. Okay, we build a wall around it and just say, well, there's a lump here, but I don't need that part.
Well,
which is
it's
the
vulnerable.
lump around my own love of myself, or even consideration of myself, or that I'm here and I'll just look out. And somehow there's always that dead spot there that can flare up at any minute and say, look, this whole thing is just useless.
It's the being vulnerable. Right? That's the part, that's the ingredient that people shy away from being the love that they are. partly because it's vulnerable to show who we are completely, even to ourselves. So many people,
Especially to ourselves, right?
I guess so. Both, it'll be the same.
And we're hiding it. I'm hiding myself from you, so I don't have to look at it myself, because if I knew it well and somehow accepted it, why would I hide it from you?
Mm-hmm. Well, and if there's space to share yourself as love with the other as well. So there might not be.
Space? What do you mean there's space?
Well, it moves with, in tune with the whole universe, with where the space is. It's like, I can't remember her name, but there's a 5 rhythms. Gabriel Roth, she teaches this 5 rhythms dancing, and she's always saying, look for the space, in this one staccato part of the 5 rhythms dance. It's like a dance meditation, or invitation. It's look for the space, and as you look for the space, you just move, and we were in a whole room of like 200 people, and nobody bumped into each other, and it was quite fast music. Everybody was moving very quickly, and it wasn't a big open space. We were quite crowded in there, and even the floor was getting slippery. And yet nobody bumped into anybody else. If everybody's moving to the space, wherever the space is for them, too. I mean, so that brings in, when you as awareness give yourself space to be just exactly who you are, then awareness itself also gives more space. Like, it's an expanding experience. And then more space arrives for love to play itself with more people. And the people that you're already connected with, it expands again, and love grows. I mean, love grows anyway. I mean, I looked once and in recognizing that it's all illusion, I looked at, okay, so what is it then in this appearance of, say, my sister, who, when she shows up, there's this feeling inside of like, oh, beautiful, or in knowing you, over some time, this grows our connection. And so there is something with time.
Are you
as
saying
well.
we give each other more and more space?
Yes. As I give myself more space, it seems like that happens with people around me, but it doesn't happen it depends on the person, because some people are not giving themselves very much space to be the love that they are. They're following, the outward, the field of, we should be working for a living, amassing things.
Is space like a comfort zone then we're talking about? In other words, if I, as somebody that's related to you, I have more space, then you'll let me do more weird things, like just be yourself, go ahead, be late, be on time, be early.
In fact, people get uncomfortable
when
they're...
Bring me flowers, don't bring me flowers.
People get uncomfortable when they're around me, because they actually do relax and they express more of who they are. And it's not because I'm doing anything, it's because that's the space I give myself. So that space is then shared with the universe. It's the most beautiful motivation to fall in love with yourself, to give yourself that space to be whatever it is you are. And that space then grows. Of course, that's, as far as I can tell, that's what makes life worthwhile to me. And other people can say, life has no reason, and ultimately it's true. It doesn't really matter. And yes, I'm just going to...
Well, just the reasons are secondary. And they're actually arbitrary. You can put a reason on, I'll put another reason on. And then you say, well, they're pretty good. That's a pretty good one, too.
Yeah, and I guess I don't call it a reason. I just say, it seems like it's embracing more of itself. The more I allow this love, the more comes to be in play in a felt sense. It's not always how it looks on the outside, but I find it worthwhile. That's what I can say, is giving my self space to be more of the love, and being, coming in to Chicago and being willing to offer satsang when it's webcast live. So that's a new space for me. That's not happened before, and that's just sort of the unknown, and I can feel a yes, and there's something that gets enlivened around new space and exploring curiosity. What's going to happen with this, because I don't know. It's never happened before, not with Canela, right? So I don't have anything that I could point to and say, oh, there's no experience here of that. So it leaves a wonderful space of curiosity and
see, so many of us, and especially even, I would say in satsang too, so many of us, we think when we close the space, then we're in better shape, because now we're really going to meditate, and I'm going to always be attent, and I'm going to be mindful when I do the dishes, and I'm going to, and so we're closing the space, saying it has to be a certain way, And so then I'm going to find love there. Yeah, but where is it going to be? I don't think I'm going to find it, because I'm really closing the space instead of opening the space. So then,
well, the very same actions could be also opening the space. The very same happenings can also be, because containing a space for meditation then supports the energies there to sort of bounce back towards itself. To some extent, creating a container.
So I'm suggesting willfulness is less space, always less space. The more willful we are, and the more disciplined, and the more we think we have the qualities that breed success in this society. And you're saying, well, none of those things are due to the space. I mean, they might be in spite of the space, or they unfold within the space. Somehow a space that's less constrictive is kind of something that we can
give ourselves. We can only give.
We can flower in that space.
Exactly, perfectly at your own rate of flowering. It's like a daisy flowers open differently than a rose. Exactly the same. How do you say which is better, the rose or the daisy? Right? They're just different. They're both beautiful. They're both flowering appropriately for what is natural for them. So that's where the nature herself gets included, in that there's a lifetime, a birth and a death of the human being. And there's this apparent lifetime of a human being as they meander through these moments, and we've contained them and called them time. These moments, put a bunch of them together, kind of, but they can't be actually contained. But somehow it supports us to flow through, and with this series of happenings that is occurring in the expression of awareness that we are.
So these series of happenings, I guess, are just thoughts, perceptions, emotions, feelings, sensations.
All of it. Walking, talking.
And then interpretations too. Thoughts, interpretations. And that's the space. We're given space for it. All of that's going to unfold in the space. I mean, if you open the space, I don't think you can evict one of those and say, well, those don't come in. These other ones can come, but, come out of those,
Now you're speaking my language. Absolutely. That's exactly it. None of it can be excluded in this. It's oneness or it's oneness. What are you going to take out? I'm going to take out that energy called anger. I don't like that one, so I'm going to toss it out, right? And I don't like where jealousy. I don't like feeling that one, so I'm going to toss that out. That's not spiritual. So that can't be part of the oneness, or that can't be part of love. It is. It's how are you with this that's occurring? How are you with the jealousy? How are you with the anger? How are you with, and the how isn't something that you can plan, but can you love this too? And in the moment, your way of love will show up. And how to be with anger in a loving way. How can you utilize this energy in some way that's supportive to you in your life, in your real details, inclusive of that.
It's a kind of simple way to look at it.
Absolutely simple. It is very simple. In the moment, your way of loving shows up. And it might be vulnerable and it might be awkward. And that's the vulnerability. That it's awkward and maybe, not so smooth looking. And with practice, it can always be, there can always be some vulnerability as you explore the edges of who you are and allow for more love. Then and to me, that's a sweetness. I'd say it's this heart with this human being. It's enjoys that part, that happening, vulnerability happening, compared to just sitting on an airplane, reading a book.
Acceptance seems like a proactive, choice. Acceptance is proactive. And somehow permissiveness maybe is not so proactive. The permissive is more just allowing the space, letting myself be a bigger space and do unexpected things, trying to accept everything that happens. But if I just permit it, it's not quite so proactive. It's more like I didn't even invent it,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just passing through, or let's just see if that's really me, or is that
and some
a pattern
moments
that
it
comes
might be,
up, or
right?
So
I call that allowing rather than
allowing. Yeah, there you go. So
allowing
then,
and acceptance are very close.
but different, huh? So allowing. Permissive is kind of cool, because then you never think of permissive with yourself. You think of permissive with other people, like you make the rules. And so then you're going to permit certain things and not others, but permissive. Allowing a larger space. And that's kind of like how we started, because we were saying that by going into our own space and allowing that to be larger, then we can notice that the space around other people is larger also, and that they can get away with more shit, right? No, they can do what they want, and that fits in, because we're not running this script anymore. We're not running a script. We're going moment by moment, and then
Right.
they can, be confused or clear, or like they could ignore us too.
Yes, they can lie, they can shout,
Yeah,
they can do all that, whatever it
they
is
might
that's
want to
happening.
ignore us for a while, and then
Yeah.
just say, why are you in my way? I stumbled over your foot. What was it doing here? Why did you stick your foot under mine? No, wait a minute, you stepped on mine. So then we can allow it, and then that's where there's not so much rejection and not so much, reaction, because then we're just saying, oh, well, that's life, that's nature, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to close down about. So then openness stays here longer, and love is broader.
Yeah.
And
then
times,
something might rise and a contraction might happen, and all of a sudden something's going on, and it's like, oh, okay, something like that. And then how are you with this? Right? So it's not to go for an apparent way that it looks so loving and so accepting and everything either, because as soon as that's there as some sort of goal, then that's not it. It's like just noticing, okay, it's there as some sort of goal, and let that go, because it's only how it is, and you're the only one that knows all the details of who you are, and can therefore understand, what the occurrences are all about and how to be with them in your own way. Because that's the beauty, is awareness has been with each of us the whole time, every moment. So it's just a matter of being honest with that and being the best. We're going to make mistakes, so it's okay. It's okay. It's just not to look for a particular look of what acceptance looks like, because as soon as that's there, then there can be a tendency to put the role on.
Yeah, there's a script there. I was going to say
Yeah.
burn the scripts, but anyhow, scripts come and go, I guess. But we think we don't know how to do something. And so then we think, well, mock it up for me, In other words, show me the script. And I can follow manuals, I can follow instructions.
Well, the beauty is the instructions are here in each moment. But not very many people look.
But it's it's just in time delivery, though. Maybe a minute late even, but if you're patient.
That's right, if you're patient. And that's exactly what it takes. It's not knowing at all. And then in the moment, the perfect steps show up. And it's kind of getting used to being able to just go with these steps without really knowing what's going to occur beyond that. And so then trust also builds, right? Because trust is also here. I mean, trust to me is another flavor of love. But there is trust.
Trust is what? No.
Trust is already happening with everyone. So we can also magnify trust.
Trust in the others?
Trust in everything. Trust that there's enough air to breathe.
Yeah, trust
we were
in the
talking
space,
earlier,
right? Trust that the space is going to be enough.
Or that the brain's going to continue to work in some way. I mean, we trust so much. We walk and we put our foot out and we totally trust that the land, the ground is going to actually be there for our foot to land on. We don't think about it. We're trusting, right? We're trusting that there's the air is going to keep being here. Trusting that, in the moment. So we can take any of those and go, oh, well, that might change. And
okay, well, let me ask you this then, because we could take this a little farther and say, well, somehow trust was missing or something like that, where we started to close the space down. In other words, something happened over the years, and we said, okay, there's too much space around here. Anything can happen. Whoa, watch out. And I'm going to go to a narrower place, and I'm going to get in more control, and I'm going to live on, in a more, maybe I'll get a little house in the woods where nobody can do what they've been doing to me so close, or I don't know. I mean, so then what's the erosion of trust let's see. I guess I'm asking if the closing of space is because of some idea that trust has eroded.
Everything happens. It's just happening. So when we lose trust, of course, when we come in as a child, trust is here. We're just experiencing life. Life is happening, and and then gradually we see that other people aren't. We learn how to be field dependent, to have our attention outside of ourselves. So having our attention and some sort of trust outside of ourselves, like to the mother and to the father, they're going to make a mistake. They're going to not be perfect for what the child might expect in any given moment, because the child is a different person. So at some point, trust will be shaken in some way, and it might be in the house changing, that the child was expecting the same sort of bed, or they wake up in the middle of the night, they went to sleep with a bottle, they wake up and there's no bottle.
Yeah.
Right? Something
how
changed.
About when you get shifted out of the parents' bedroom, right? And you got to be in that old dark room by yourself, whoa, wait, what is this all about?
So yeah, it could be in all of those sorts of things that we can't really know that, but what happens is the attention is taught to be outside of ourselves. So it doesn't include the inner realms of hearing yourself, hearing what's really going on from here. We're taught to have our attention outside. So that's where the past and the future appear to have some sort of reality in this attention being outside of ourselves.
But some kids, some of us probably forgive these mistakes more readily, and others hold a grudge for life just for Well, we all hold a grudge for life for something, somewhere it went over across the line and we're not going to go there anymore. And then, but some of them we forgave. I mean, is that because the parents were better than the other parents, or why are some of us able to forgive more our loss of trust and not go to closing the space down and narrowing everybody out and being more of an individual? And is this the sequence of what's happening in society, and how when we see it reverse, when we see space open up, and we can relate it to trust, and we can say, how's it happening?
Well, interest. The person's either interested in allowing space for love or they're not. Because some people are not interested. They're interested in following the mundane, the outside details. It's not really the mundane. I shouldn't say that, because there can be mundane happenings that are totally loving. It's love is in everything. It's just when the mundane details of living life for a job as a character in a life, believing in that. I mean, a person might be, I don't know, because I can't see it being happy in that, but there can be some sort of,
they're safe.
They're feeling safe, and they
somehow
stay
they're
with
safe
that.
because they say there is no love here. So then I'm just, I'm going to just go through these routines, and that's what life is actually. It's just a whole lot of routines, and
then
you just
you
do
die.
them as best you can, and every once in a while the sun rises or sets and makes a beautiful color, and every once in a while something cute happens and you feel a rush of happiness, and then that's all you get out of life, right?
Yeah. So it takes an interest in
breaking that cycle.
Well, in just being curious, what's beyond this, because this doesn't seem to be fulfilling. And so maybe to some people it's fulfilling enough, that feeling of safety.
For a while.
They prefer that, for a while. And
till that
depending
explodes,
on which,
right? All of us for a while, right? I mean, then it
depending
pops,
on in which lifetime, right? So it depends, we're talking about just one lifetime. So when you say, why is it with some people, and we really can't answer that, because we, it would be going into other lifetimes as well to see whatever's been happening with that soul before they came into this life. Because that's actually in my book. One of the invitations is actually about people who face fear, and how is it that some people can go and totally face it and go, oh, fear, okay, well then, and open up to it, because fear's there, they use it as an indicator to find their way as something that they want to open up to rather than run away.
Well, one thing is it's kind of happened once, and so then they realize, oh boy, that was a good result, now I'm not afraid of that anymore. And so then that's always the first one is the tough one, I guess, right? Or the first one that we can remember. Maybe there was more before, but we forgot all those.
In facing the fear. But some people, right, some people need a few times before they face the fear. They need to have the details repeat themselves this way and then go on that way, until they finally go, okay, or whatever. And other people face, but is there a recipe for facing fear? And, no. There's only each individual person, and however it is they're experiencing this happening we call life, these series of events that occur.
We could say handy things. We could say that, it's the worst the first time, and then later it gets better, and then it's fun after a while, really horrendous fears. You got to go for this job interview, and he's going to fire you, and they're downsizing everybody, Just do it in style, right?
Mm-hmm. And yet I've seen people also who have faced a lot of fears and growing, and then depending on what the fear is and how it shows up, then they just completely close down.
Now they're dead, right?
No, I don't. No, I just know of a few people that's also occurred too. So there's no.
Fed up, huh?
So or maybe needs to be more time and space to be with that fear for some reason or other that we can't see. I don't know. We can't. I just know that that has occurred. It's not always a opening,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't always remember it so good, like all the sequence and stuff, but it seems like we talked about loving others and relating, and how attention is important to relating, and then we started talking about attention on ourself, and then we started talking about opening space, which was really a cool thing, like that with space for ourselves we could actually be more experimental and explore grounds that maybe we don't want to go into, and maybe when we get there we won't want to go back, but at least we were there and we learned from it. And then if we can explore things, we can let other people explore their deals too. And then we kind of equated that to love, that when we release or relax off of people, or we creating space, means that our reactions don't come up so much, because we've created that space first within ourselves, then all around us, and those that inhabit all those. And so then we're saying, in a way, that is a metaphor for love, because it works just one-to-one. It's a relationship anyhow. And I love that so much, what we did, because, and then in the end, of course, you said soul, and you said lifetime and stuff like that, but I don't like to talk about soul and lifetime and all those other things that you have to bring in first, like the belief in unity. Well, it is unity. Well, it's the belief in separation that wrecks the world, Well, who cares about the belief in separation? But we're just talking about something that's so practical that didn't have one jargon with it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I think that's a new way to speak, that's way more inclusive and is actually creating space. And so from space, it creates love, because all the jargon doesn't create space. And it's a need to be exclusive and special, or something. I'm just putting this out there and see if you go for it. But
see if I go for it.
Yeah, well, those guys too. I'm talking all those guys out there, and they don't know. They don't care if you go for it. You guys are the ones that are creating space. You got space in my heart.
Well, I'm for it.
Yeah.
Totally.
Isn't that a new way of teaching, though, without coming with any kind of preconceived? No preconceptions. I mean, we just pieced it together.
That's right.
Step at a time,
right here, right now. This is it. Right here, right now. This is where everything, all the teachings that a person would ever need, reside. You don't need to go away from the moment. You can be right here, and you will be met. You will be given everything that you've ever desired, and you will be loved. The more you allow yourself to be open, and not as a rule like, oh, you should open then to love, but more as an invitation from yourself to yourself. Can I allow more love? Like this, maybe, or like that? And find your way, inclusive of the human being, depending on the personality and how they show up. It'll be completely unique, and that's what makes our world such a wonderful, diverse happening, and worthwhile sharing, so that I can go and be here with Richard and find out, well, how is he allowing love, and ask, well, what's happening with him right now? Because I can't know that, because I'm not him, but I can ask him, and he can kind of point to it, and he can ask me, and I can kind of point to it.
It's so pure, because when you say the root of love is spaciousness, or allowing space, and then there is really no loving. It's not like you should go out and love, because I'm not even saying you should go out and create space, but what's left there is, you could start soft and say tolerance, because that's how you create spaces, with tolerance.
Allowing. Right? I don't know, but tolerance is a little rough. It's putting up with something. So as soon as it's putting up, there's a little bit of a something there. It's quite different than inviting. Allowing doesn't have anything in between you and whatever the happening is. Tolerance has a bit of a shield on it. You know what I mean? It's not.
No, I understand. I understand the connotations.
Because
But anyhow, like almost, let's just say that certain things like muscle tissue, in a way, it doesn't push; it only pulls. Because, like, okay, in construction and in engineering, there's things that are under compression, and then there's things that are under tension. Muscles have a tension ability because they can contract.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can relax, but that's not really pushing. They don't extend themselves and shove. There's all kinds of pulleys and ropes and stuff in these things that can make it go both ways. That's true, but each time it goes both ways, it's by a contraction. So then to say that there's an allowing, maybe the only thing that there is a disallowing.
Well, both.
No, there's a disallowing. With ropes and pulleys, there's an allowing. But if you just stop disallowing, that's allowing.
Yes.
If you just stop closing off, then that's loving. These things. And so then even to say that you actively go out, maybe it's useful. I don't know. We just know that we speak like that. But then it always does. It doesn't work. I mean, if you just stop disallowing and find out that allowance is what's left over. If you stop holding conditions, then what's left over is spaciousness. You can't create space. You can't really push. You only can pull. Stop pulling is all it is. Stop contracting, and stop constricting. Stop disallowing.
And I kind of.
Do you like that?
Well, in a way, what I say is or invite is to notice the contraction. And be with the contraction, and it will find its own way. So there's no need to stop or put it on. The stopping can be very useful in stopping in some sort of activity that's not feeling true or right to stop. Or if you're in a conversation, or even a listener within a conversation where it doesn't feel like it's touching you or alive or whatever, then to stop. That kind of stopping, yes. But if there's contraction, to be with that, to stop an outward attention and be with the contraction, or like you say, like the pulleys and movement of an arm or a leg, that's just naturally happening. You can be with it or not be with it. It's happening anyway, perhaps, in natural movement.
I totally like that. I totally agree that, that really that is the mechanism of stop contracting, is to look at it and notice it. And you notice it, you might notice and say, I really need to do this. I'm the little boy with the finger in the dike and I really need this, Or you could just say, hey, maybe I'll pull it off for a while and see what happens. Maybe, and let someone else do this job,
Yeah, and the very next person might be the one that's, they take their finger out of the dike, and the next person will put their finger in the dike. And there's no right or wrong of it. It's just what feels right or wrong to the person from their heart. And are they living that which is right, what feels right? It's like the heart and the mind together. It's receiving the details, excuse me, of what is. So that's inclusive of the actual information of whatever the details are, and then in conjunction with the heart in deciding, is this what feels the most right? And then this is what righteousness really is. It's not a set of rules in a church or a religion. Righteousness is following what already exists inside you. This is, where God exists, and we can call on that and
see how that works. Now, righteousness is inside you. So what does it do? I mean, when you notice it, you're going to notice it, right? Because we're just talking about noticing. That's all you can do, right?
That's right. And righteousness is only something that's there in the moment. What is truly right for you? Do you turn left or do you turn right? Do you speak or not speak? And to the best of your ability, you follow that. And often we fall over the edge of that so we can find out where we are. And that's more learning in this adventure, of allowing more and more love.
No, I think that's so important because, especially I don't like sports where you die, Because, like, you're supposed to be able to adjust, and if you don't go past center and come back to center, if you don't go past center, then you're way far from the edge. You've never got close until you could feel the edge, put your toes over the edge, but go over, overdo it. And that's how really everything. I mean, when you're driving a car, when is your hand still? You don't have the right. You're not right. You're always wrong. You're always adjusting, going this way. That's how life is. And then to say that, no, we should find the right way and be always right.
Yeah, well, it's basically what we're taught is that the right way and all the rules are outside of ourselves, based on society's rules and regulations, or our parents' rules and regulations, or the government, and living by those rules. That's where trust falls away, because, of course, everybody's so different. There's just no way to really trust someone else. What you can do is trust whether it feels right for you to be with that person or not, or to whatever the question is, to access your own self. That's where your answer of whether this is right. And people aren't as accustomed to accessing and feeling their own source right here, right now, in their own heart, to find out what's right for them. We've been used to following somebody else's idea of what is right or what is wrong. And that also happens to take us out of the moment, or apparently it's not really true. You can't really be out of the moment, but letting attention and awareness rest where you are, again, magnifies that presence.
That's interesting, because then societal rules, the laws of the land are, again, a script, and that constricts space instead of opens space, and so then that stops love instead of opens love. And but then if they're loose enough that we can agree that somehow that doesn't infringe upon our ability to create space, to keep our space open. And somehow we can always live inclusively and feel love, and then get the reward of that too, because that's us that's feeling it. It's not so much that we're giving anybody anything.
Well, and also the what feels right for you, and living that way in connection to your own heart, and what's right for you. It doesn't exclude that there's still all that authority and rules and regulations that are happening out there. It's just that they don't predominate. You can make choices and go against them if you need to, if that's what feels really true, which is a lot about what this Occupy happening is about. People feel drawn to do something different, to not conform to how it's been.
Well, really, they're not breaking the rules, because the rules say freedom of speech and freedom to gather and congregate. So they're using the rules, and then they're trying to get some attention. So then once in a while, the big rules they break are camping in a park or something like that. It's not all that bad. I guess there's a few burnt cars or something, but I don't think it has anything to do with those people.
I'm just smiling because I saw the little lever go up. Oh, Canela's on now. So it's inclusive of those details, and so I share them because there was a part that thought, maybe I'm not supposed to share it. But there's an incredible, I want to say, a thankfulness to Richard for the mechanics of this interview, this speaking together, because there's a lot that's happening right here in the, to follow through on how that all works. And there are kind of rules and regulations and how that works, right? How the cameras work and how the mics work and how they need to be. So that's where it fits. Yeah. It works out.
Hopefully it's transparent enough where people can have space, and won't affect the space. And sometimes it does, Sometimes I'm not even, in the old days, right? And they didn't invite me. I said, no, this is where you get into deep stuff here. We're not videoing nothing. And and that's what I say. Hopefully it's transparent enough, and that everybody can keep their space open and open it wider and wider, and learn and feel that the space around them from others has been opened, whatever. There's no form to it. That's the formlessness, right? Space. So then we can fill it any way we want.
Mm-hmm. Inclusive of whatever our personal details are. So what feels loving, including ourselves.
So I think we said a lot of stuff. We're going to have a big weekend. So then everyone can hang around and see what's happening. So tonight and then tomorrow and Sunday.
Yes.
So I'm so grateful, Canela, that you came, because I have to say that, like, you're the best player there is out there, You really will play on, at a moment's notice,
there's no
in any game,
There's no comparing, right? That's like I know there's a temptation to compare that, but it's not, anybody could look at anything I say and find 1,000,001 things wrong with it.
Yeah.
It's always easy.
No, but you're here. You have an availability that's really unique. Other people have come here, but not. I don't know about that. I would just say, that's my testimony, folks.
Well, there's an openness here because I found that openness works quite well for me in allowing more and more love. And when I allow more love for myself, I allow everybody to be more loving and to experience love.
So you're a love pig, right? You're just wallowing in it.
I suppose a monger or something, love monger. A monger, it's mongering me. Maybe, I don't know about a pig.
Pigs are holy critters.
Yeah,
right?
I had myself.
Some people that say they're really holy.
No, my cousins named their pig had piglets, twins, and we were the twins that they knew, my brother Mike and myself. So I don't know if they're still alive or not, but I do have a pig that was named after me.
All right. Well, thanks so much.